Welcome everybody to our Field Service Management for Construction webinar today. We're here to talk about improving margins, CSAT, ESAT, and operational awareness and agility. And with that, I'll just quickly let you know that today's agenda, we're going to do a welcome, a quick introduction to the panel discussion today, go through solution and benefit overviews. And then we have Eureka and D'Absolute who will do a demonstration of the solution for the construction industry. We'll open it up to a Q&A, and then we can tell you about how to engage with the teams and next steps if there's anything that we can help you with. So with that, we have our speakers here today. I'd like to pass it over to Brian Chang from Salesforce, who's currently standing in for Aldo, who will be joining us a little bit later. Why don't you kick us off, and then I'll allow all the other speakers and moderator to introduce themselves.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. Hey everyone. I wanted to welcome everyone. My name is Brian. I am a service and field service specialist here at Salesforce. Super excited today for D'Absolute and Eureka to walk us through the solution specifically for the construction industry. Before we start, I just wanted to share a few trends that we've been seeing across this industry. So with a focus on specialty contractors, we're seeing a lot of demand from the industry for data center build-outs, fiber construction, chiller installations, really as a result of the AI boom. The current data center switch market spending it's really focused on front-end networks, but with the AI workloads, it's requiring a new back-end infrastructure build-out. The Dell'Oro Group actually reported that spending on AI backend networks is forecasted to approach somewhere near 80 billion over the next 5 years. And we're already seeing this, right? So just a few weeks ago, the 3 Mile Island, it's a nuclear plant in Pennsylvania, that's going to be reopened to power Microsoft's data centers. And I think just yesterday, Google announced they signed a deal to buy nuclear power for their AI data centers too. So with all this demand, I've been meeting with customers across the country on their technology infrastructure, helping them to equip them with a full platform to support everything from bid to resource management to data capture and visibility to change orders from the field. So, with all that in mind, I wanted to thank everyone for joining, and I will pass it back to the team now.
Thanks, Brian. Much appreciated. I'll introduce myself really quickly. I'm the VP of Industry Solutions at D'Absolute. I've got 25 plus years across the globe, across industries, with a heavy focus on the more complex industries like construction, oil and gas, utilities, comms organizations. I was ex-Salesforce field service product for a number of years. And even before that, I was 10 years as a civil engineer designing and overseeing construction and maintenance capital works type projects. So pleasure to be here. As part of the POV, I wanted to go through, I think I've got like 3 slides. I could spend probably 2 days on these 3 slides, but I'm only limited to about 10 minutes. So I'll go quickly. My intent is to share some of our insights over many, many years within this industry and other industries. Just to give you some context as you get into some of the demos, obviously we're not going to be able to show everything. We're going to give you a taste and a flavor of, but encourage you to kind of engage us as we're going through this. The construction industry, extremely unique in a lot of different ways. We'll focus more on the field service perspective of this. And maybe just a couple of things that make it unique from a field service perspective that have to be addressed as deploying a field service solution for this industry. First and foremost comes to mind is variable work and resource types within. You see this in some industries, but it's heavy on the construction side. You have a broad mix of short, mid, long cycle type work of many different work type flavors. You've got things like pre-work inspections where you have a single guy that goes out, and then you got projects that have many, many, many moving parts. Peter will go through some of these things. a little bit later on. Many moving parts, and the resource element of it, you got individuals with their skills, tools, parts, certifications, location, their travel needs, uniquely to construction. You've got resources, people that can act in different roles, depending on the activities that they're engaged with, which is really interesting. You've got crews, an aggregation of people, equipment, crews, et cetera, over a period of time, either defined in advance or as a result of the work that you're looking to address. Certainly scheduling specialty equipment, tools, third-party resources is a big part of this. There are a lot of activities going on in all this, and not to the least of which is materials, right? So lifeblood of keeping the work going is delivering, tracking, transporting materials to and from site, so you can keep things going and moving safely, efficiently, effectively, etc. Right? I think the other key thing to mention, with my only a couple minutes, is the collection of materials, services, equipment, the third parties engage, the proof of delivery as part of that, even the restoration work at that site, right? While still managing to engage users is critical, right? So there's a lot of things that have to be collected, ultimately deriving who's getting paid and how much you're getting paid for this, but you don't want to overburden the user. So this is, I think, a theme that will probably come up as Gary shows his stuff, Peter shows his stuff, and I talk through some of the key challenges within the organization. I think another very interesting characteristic of construction is the can-do attitudes, or maybe I should say the will-do attitudes, right? So very often in construction, almost always, you've got that wide range of personnel from 30 plus years, knows exactly what's going on, has their particular ways of working, etc., to the guys that are just brand new. If a system is getting in the way of getting their work done, they will find a way to get it done. So you have to engage users as part of it. Again, a key theme of what we'll be presenting and what our solution provides as part of that. Lots of challenges on the construction side. I've listed a good number here. Again, happy to engage with you and talk through some of what we've seen to give you some level of comfort maybe, or certainly answers to how those things are addressed. Feel free to reach out. For this point, I'll probably just point out two, right? Bottom left and bottom right in this case. So consolidating systems and streamlining the process. This is a big one. This is kind of the low-hanging fruit of deploying the Salesforce Field Service solution and the approach that dAbsolute and Eureka take to it. Lots of potential benefits from just that consolidation of systems and streamlining that process. Operational awareness, a big theme, as you can see in part of the header. It's one of the long-standing trends within field service amongst increased levels of precision, right? Organizations used to deliver out the work to the field and let them figure it out. Now organizations are looking to be much more precise in the data, in the approach, in the process that they're delivering to the field service. They're looking for agility within their solutions. So being able to adapt and adjust, support variability across the business. As mentioned before, the variability of work types, the variability of resource types demand that. And then applying operational intelligence to the systems to make it easier, more streamlined, more consistent in the approach, so they can actually run the business in an appropriate way rather than delivering out control out to that individual out in the field. So operational awareness is one of those key things. You'll see from Peter later on, you'll see the account/customer tied to projects, tied to jobs, tied to activities, that ability to take information from one, deliver it seamlessly to the other, and vice versa, bring the details from the activities and what's collected back towards the customer level, provides that level of absolute operational awareness across the business so you can run the business appropriately. I think, again, as part of consolidating and streamlining the process, You've got a massive reduction in administrative burden. Typical within this and many other field service organizations, you got a swivel chair approach where resources are looking at multiple screens, entering things in different applications, sometimes multiple times. The deployment of Salesforce Field Service and the Salesforce platform in general helps remove that, or helps consolidate the one view of the truth across the business, bringing all those details together so you don't have this swivel chair type of activity. Billing contention is another one I've seen across this industry, as well as the oil field services industry. One very massive global oil field services organization has been running with field services and Salesforce Field Service specifically for quite a while. They had a 20% leakage just on billing contention going into their deployment some 12 years ago. So being able to get access to the details, track and trace, get it into the system very quickly without overburdening the field resources, so that when a customer calls up and says, we don't think you had those resources out there, we don't think you finished this thing, you've got the proof point to deliver it, and you can deliver pro forma type invoices as part of the process very quickly after completing the work to help make sure you're streamlining that ability to get paid. Which brings me up to another one, order to cash, quote to cash, streamlining that process, lots of value, lots of benefit there. This is how organizations get paid. This is the true health of the organization. And then last, in terms of this topic, I would add like a level of continual improvement, right? And so caution flag here, certainly take it step by step. And this is something the platform, the solution allows, and how we would coach you from the DAbsolute side. We wouldn't want to deploy a one-size-fit-all approach. We would want to deploy something very particular to your organization that allows you to grow into something like continual improvement, where systematically you can expose those areas of good and bad situations that you want to fix, and then feed that information back, opposed to what typically happens in a lot of construction organizations. And I was part of it when I was working as a construction person for 10 years, taking the template from the last project and reusing it without consideration of how well that went or how well it didn't go. So things like that to help support continual improvement. Take it as it makes sense for the organizations. And then the far right side, user engagement, operational agility, essential for the construction industry. You want to be able to engage those 30+ year veterans that know exactly what's going on, as well as equip the new guys with technology that is a tool for them to get their job done better, quicker, without burdening those guys. Agility is a key aspect of that employee engagement, being able to adapt and adjust when employees look for you to make a change, or when you're looking to offer up more stuff or going into a different locale territory, or simply when you're dealing with different weather scenarios, different geographies, different work types. You need to have the ability to adapt and adjust and get a little bit different in all of this. Tons to go through here. And apologies for throwing it at you so quickly. But again, happy to engage. Feel free to ring us up. There'll be some information on contacts later on. One not so unique characteristic in the construction, but pretty prevalent, is a very complex landscape that often aggregates over a period of time. So here, again, causing that swivel chair type of approach. There are different flavors of everything within this, from ERP, ERM, CRM, connecting directly to customer systems. We've seen a good bit of this. It's a really smart thing to do from a construction organization. As you remove that administrative burden, you streamline the process of getting and taking in work, as well as feeding back the financials to those organizations. But it provides another level of complexity amongst the other systems, engaging with email, invoicing, payroll, HR systems, etc. As part of what we deliver at DAbsolute, we deliver that guidance, that many, many decades of experience in doing just this type of thing, to make sure you're not binding yourself in a quarter or looking to deploy a one flavor across the entire business, which I would caution on many levels not to do. You have to be very specific. Employees are expecting it, the benefits demand it, to get very specific in what you're looking to do. So again, happy to discuss this in deep and take your specific landscape and give you some insights into what makes sense for you. Last, before I hand over to Gary and Peter, there is a great deal to talk about here. Here I've just listed some of the solution components that we've seen across our construction customers. Happy to dive in deep on these as we see fit. Today, not enough time to do it. My favorite, by the way, is the timesheets with union rules, so I could spend 2 days just talking about that. But we'll get into more specifics as we engage deeper with you. Here I'll pass over, I believe, to Gary now to talk about some of the flexibility, the capabilities on the mobile side. Gary.
Sounds great, Stephen. Thank you for all the details there. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Gary Stum. I'm our Director of Solutions Engineering here at Eureka. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for probably 18 years now, since about 2006, and primarily focused in field use cases around energy and utilities and construction for the past 3 years. Now I'm going to walk through a demo. I'm very excited to walk through data collection out in the field on our construction site. And I want to introduce some of our new AI technology that I'm really excited to show in just a moment. But I wanted to set the stage with this slide just to show you a little bit more about Eureka and what I'm going to present in just a moment. So Eureka is the #1 smart forms application. And what we do is help for people and site employees and technicians collect data out in the field. We make it really easy, guide them through processes, and we make that data available on and offline. So almost all of the data points that Stephen had brought up a moment ago, a lot of the challenges that he had brought up are all around data, existing systems, and data that we need to collect out in the field. And today I'm going to walk you through how Eureka can help you collect all of that data in the most remote locations on and offline, and do so in a quick fashion so that you can keep the pulse of all your projects, make sure your billing is accurate, see exactly when we're going to reach any of these milestones in any and all of our projects. So if I may, Erica, let me share my screen. And Stephen, Peter, since I can see you, can you give me a thumbs up, just confirming you can see my screen? I'm looking at a work order. Beautiful. All right, so I love to start from a work order in Salesforce just to provide a little bit of stage setting so you know where this data is coming from. Our forms can attach to any object inside of your system, standard or custom. Don't worry about that in either case. But for today's story, I'm going to tell a story around a work order. So we've got a new construction site here today. We're going to document our progress, and we're going to fill a daily log report. And it's going to pull data not only from the work order itself, but it's also going to pull in data from our work order lists. Our work order line items are going to pre-populate in the system. It's also going to pull in files. So if we have technical documentation that we'd like to go through at any point because of whatever stage of work that we're going through, or if we want to see photos that we had captured in prior engagements, issues that we had resolved, or outstanding issues from yesterday's daily log report or last week's issue reports. All of that form data could flow through into today's form. We'll also see my team. So I'll play the role of a 4-person here. We'll see my team and their timesheet entries. I can go in and polish it up, just make sure that everything looks great before I sign off on it, and we can make sure that everybody gets paid accordingly. Also want to just preface, our forms, they attach directly to that work order or whatever object you're focused on inside of Salesforce. When we complete this form, I'll then click into the form to show you all that rich data back in Salesforce automatically. Now I've transitioned the screen here to my mobile device. I'm using an iOS device. We have customers using iOS, Android, and even Windows devices. And they can take that data on or offline in the most remote location. So if we don't have cell service, Wi-Fi connectivity, out in our construction site, no problem. We'll go through this entire demo in that offline state. So for today on this job, we can see the 3 forms that I had on that work order, and we're going to focus on our daily log report. You can have as many forms as you'd like. And so long as we have the data handed off in Salesforce, like the work type, the job type, any other attributes, that can determine which types of forms are pre-created for me. I could also create new forms on the fly in the event that we do need an ad hoc form, but we're going to go through our daily log report here. Now, as I click into this form, you're going to see that it is pre-populated with all this rich data, and it's coming in that offline state. So you can look up records, you can pre-populate data, not only data from that work order or account or site or job, but also line items. Think multiple rows of data, which we'll just see in a second here. And just like I mentioned a moment ago, the form itself is built such that it can guide us through a process. So depending upon how I respond, it is going to prompt the next appropriate question to make sure that I'm efficiently only seeing the relevant data and I'm collecting that relevant data. Any and all of those fields that are relevant, of course, could be required to make sure that we're getting all of that good, rich, quality data inside of the system. So the first page here, we're mitigating against risks. So think of your safety assessments, any issues that we want to make sure that we don't have trip hazards. If we're using ladders, we're taking the appropriate steps. If we have PPE, et cetera, just to make sure that we're doing everything safely so everybody can complete the work today and then go back home, end of the day, to make sure they return to their families. We have a variety of different types of questions as well. Yes, no's, pick list, multi-selects, geolocation, et cetera. And we can even pull in images and files. Like we just saw from Salesforce on the work order, we could see the work or issues that we had identified yesterday, and even have technical handbooks. So if there's technical documentation, Brian mentioned those chillers that we might be installing out on site. This is a great way to have the specs for the chillers to make sure that we're installing and checking maintenance and proactive maintenance according to any of those specs in the documentation. For today, we can see if we've identified any issues, or we could also capture progress of the work today, capture as many photos as we'd like. Here's a quick example today where we're doing some excavation and putting in a road. Down below, we can have a variety of different type of work that we're capturing, and depending upon how I respond to it, here's framing questions, concrete that we might be laying today, questions that are relevant, excavation, etc. And a lot of times customers will come to us with a collection of Excel spreadsheets that are complex in nature, and they might have many, many different rows and columns. And this is a great way to be able to capture that rich data and do so inside of those Excel type tables directly inside of that form in the offline state. All sorts of calculations there supported as well. And then in our final page here, as we wrap up our daily log report, we're going to start to look at resources. So equipment that we've used and actual people that were rendering any of that work. We're going to see all of that here on this page. So here in our first piece, we can see we've got that vibrating tamper that we had on the work order itself. We could add new equipment. We're going to do some excavation here with a backhoe for 4 hours, for instance. We can do scanning as well. So if you're moving assets from one location to another, we can not only scan any barcodes or QR codes, but we can also validate that that is the appropriate asset as we're moving it from location to location. And then down below here, as a foreperson, I want to see my team's timesheets. I can tap into any of these and see the exact data that they had logged. And if that all looks appropriate, I'll sign off and validate that everything looks great. We can add as many more as we'd like, especially our own if we want to contribute any of our hours today into that sheet. Now it's going to sum all of our daily work in that log down below, including the equipment resources, the human resources, et cetera. We'll add our final comments and then we'll sign off, and then I'll show you that rich data back in Salesforce. Today, we were able to progress the project with our excavation, and we did so safely and documenting everything along the way. Great use there for voice to text while we're using our mobile device. And then I'll submit this form and I will return to service. Maybe it's the end of the day, or maybe I have service, and it's going to sync all of that rich data. Any of the photos that we had captured marked up, any of the rich text that we had captured, that all gets pushed back into Salesforce. And then I'll refresh this screen here, for instance, the work order, any of the fields that we had updated here. We can see our field work that we had captured. as well as our backhoe that we're going to be using today for equipment, our timesheets that we had seen there if we made any edits or contributed additional timesheets. And then, of course, the form itself. We'll be able to see a carbon copy of that form. Now, in the event that we are back home or in the back office, if we have an auditor that wants to review any of that data, they'd be able to review the exact form as it had been completed out in the field. And they could even edit this information. So if you wanted to edit this from a desktop experience, it will still dynamically grow and shrink according to that same type of experience that we had just a moment ago on mobile device. And again, bring those forms anywhere. Community experiences, desktop, consoles, mobile devices, etc. Your data is certainly available to be completed anywhere inside of a Salesforce experience. Now, today we walked through a complex form with 3 different pages, and a lot of times people will raise their hand and ask, what is the level of effort to try to stand up that type of a complex solution? And I'm really pleased to announce that this is something that you can do very quickly and easily, especially with this new introduction of Eureka Copilot. So Eureka Copilot is our new AI tool that allows you to start from a PDF form and hand off that PDF to Copilot. It'll scan through, and here's a quick example of a workplace inspection checklist. I'll hand this off, it'll scan through, retrieve all the questions and potential answers, and then use that and structure it inside of Salesforce as a brand new form template. In a matter of a minute, we'll be able to see what those results are and be able to polish it up as needed. So here is my desktop workplace safety checklist. There's also a prompt as well. So in the event that we wanted to, oh, my apologies, I refreshed the screen. Let me just hand it off one more time. There's also a prompt down below. So you could also tell it, we want to structure it in a particular fashion. What I intended to do there was to shrink my screen so that we could go side by side and see the before and after. That prompt is particularly helpful in the event that you have many, many different form templates, global solutions or multi-bilingual type solutions. You can even take this original English PDF, hand it off to Copilot, ask it to translate it in Spanish, German, French, anything else, and it'll scan through and start to retrieve all that data and create those questions and answers for you in your targeted language. So here on the right-hand side, we can see our workplace safety checklist. And then down below, you're going to see that it has retrieved all of these questions grouped with the same type of structure. Our inspection details here with the date of completion, our technician name, our inspection type. But you'll also see that it's identified potential answers and had structured those pick list values with the same type of structure that that PDF had. You're seeing all of the different groupings with all those questions. Our yes, no, and A's, of course, structured the exact same way. Yes, no, and A. And then down below, after all of our different sections here, we even have our closeout. It's identified long text areas and our signature. So while we had gone through a really complex form today, there's a great new technology that we've introduced. And this is one of my favorite uses of AI on the Salesforce platform. You can start from a PDF and go to a smart form template inside of Salesforce and just polish it up in our template builder, which is all a drag and drop user interface, no code writing necessary, in just a matter of minutes. So really excited to introduce our new technology here called Eureka Copilot. Quite a journey there. Again, we just covered a little bit from work order, all that rich information flowed into a form that you can do on and offline, collect that rich data to optimize those field operations while they're out on site so they can focus on what's most important for you and the organization. And then, of course, we showed a little bit of back office here, how we can create those form templates quickly and easily using Copilot. Again, really thank you very much for all the time today. I'll hand it off to Peter. He'll start to show you a lot of the hierarchy inside of Salesforce and why that's all important.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gary. I'm gonna hit you right back with just giving me a thumbs up when you can see the account on my screen. Perfect. Thank you. So I'll just take a quick second to introduce myself as well. Peter McMullen. I work with D'Absolute. I'm a solution consultant for D'Absolute, which means that I work with the sales team as well as the technical team to be able to bridge kind of those two different sections of our company and work best with our customers to help understand their needs and demonstrate a lot of these features and how Salesforce and Eureka, alongside people like Gary, can best solve resolve and provide new ways of performing the functions that you perform on an everyday basis. So to start with, I'm going to be presenting Salesforce Field Service today, all of it on the desktop. You'll see some areas, and I'll call them out, where what you were seeing from Gary's side of things would be where you're fitting Eureka in with Salesforce Field Service. We're going to be starting with the hierarchy of objects. So starting up top, looking at your customer or your account, working your way down through projects, and then through individual jobs and prerequisites for those projects. We'll then be looking at the way that you can present and view your schedule, how you can manage and filter all the jobs within your schedule, assign them out to the appropriate individual technicians or crews, assigning out not just people resources, but also equipment resources like the backhoe that Gary called out being used earlier. Different ways of approaching job assignment, whether that's job-centric, whether that's resource-centric, and then finally reviewing a lot of key features. One of Salesforce's key features, its reporting and dashboards, the data visualization aspect of things from the point of view of a project. So, got a lot to do, so let's get into it. The first page that we're looking at right here is the account page or the customer page. So we're looking at our customer Davenport Industries, and we've got a lot of information immediately available to us. This is the initial kind of introduction detail page. It gives us a lot of general information, billing address, shipping address, the account owner, some contact information, but we can see we've got other tabs along here that contain other pieces of information that are groupings of other records from within Salesforce that are associated to this account, to this customer. So what we're focusing on today is field service. I'm going to click that tab, and we're actually going to open up, and we're going to see we've got one project with Davenport Industries, which is just called Davenport 2024. That's what you get when you're showing the demo off. And then we've got some work orders here, which are our jobs. All of those jobs are associated with our customer Davenport Industries, and we'll actually see how all of those jobs are associated with the Davenport 2024 project itself. All of these are hyperlinked, so we can very easily click on one of those hyperlinks and open up a new record. So this is our project record. It is filed so that you don't have a ton going on your screen. It's filed appropriately under that account, under that customer, and we've now got it right next to it here. Again, some general information here. There's not a ton for the project itself because that's just serving as a folder of sorts to hold on to all of the disparate pieces of information that we really need to take into consideration for that project. For the purposes of our demo today, that includes prerequisites for the project and our jobs or our work orders. So the prerequisites are things like you can see here, line locates. I'm going to open those up and we can see the full list associated with this project. So we've got line locate, permit, traffic control, inspection, material acquisition. Now, these are for the project as a whole, but what we've got going on in the background of this demonstration is that each of the jobs associated with the project feed back up into these prerequisites. So if any individual job has a prerequisite that is not accounted for, that has not been completed, that will show here. So for all existing jobs that have currently been created for this project, the inspection and material acquisition prerequisites have all been completed. We can then see that line locate and permit for some or all of those jobs are in the process of being completed. We're still getting those line locates and those permits. And for traffic control, again, there is one or multiple jobs that have not even started getting the traffic control. And so we'll see that as we dive further into the job, a job itself, and see how that approaches things. But I just wanted to highlight this point as a way of quickly getting a summary of how everything is going for somebody that needs to see top level, right? Somebody that is not necessarily wanting to dig through every single job and figure out exactly where things are going wrong, or if there is anything that's missing or behind schedule. This is a very easy way of kind of accumulating and rolling that data up to the project level. Now, as I mentioned, we're just going to dive into a job here. So we're going to open 419, and this is, again, a lot of information all at once. So I'm going to just kind of leave things on screen and walk through certain sections of this page with you. Now, In the center of the page, we've got everything focused on the job itself, this record, individual record. We can see again, we've got those details with some information hyperlinking to the account, like our customer, the project is here, the territory that our customer is functioning inside of. We've got the general information. So some of the highlights up top we've got, and we're going to dive into what goes on here in a second. On the left-hand side, we've got an accumulation of our related records to this job. So that is our work order line items, our products required. So as Gary called out on that form that he was filling out, he already had that vibrating tamper. I'll scroll down a little bit here. He already had that vibrating tamper. That was something that was required. And then you can add in things obviously on the job as necessary. And then we've got the appointment here. We're going to be focusing on the work order line items for the moment. And so I'm going to open up that list and we're going to see that for this specific job, we've got all of these line items that represent the applicable prerequisites for this specific job. We've got our inspection that is in the completed state. So we've already completed our inspection. We're working on our line locate. We have not started our traffic control. So if we return to the prerequisites here, we can see that that is why traffic control is set to incomplete, because that prerequisite for job 419 has not begun yet. And then we've got the line item electrical work. So this is the actual work that is being done. It's not a prerequisite, but we are able to identify it from the description what is a prerequisite and what therefore rolls up into those prerequisites, and what is the work that is being done for this specific job. Returning to the job itself, on the right-hand side of the screen, we've got work plans. These are things that can automatically be generated on the job that is then can be made visible to people that are using mobile devices, like what you saw with Gary, positioning those kind of plans. And they're very simple ways of just kind of giving checkboxes, automatically created checkboxes for similar types of work. We've also got knowledge articles that are automatically filtered. So if you've got a certain job, like safe job procedure for, let's say, concrete, that you need to make sure that all the foreman on a job is aware of all the time or has access to very easily, you can always go and attach these articles to the job itself so that anybody that is out there can easily access them and access the information within. So we've started off and we've kind of gone down this hierarchy of we have the customer within the customer. For each customer, we can have a number of projects. For a given project, we can have a number of prerequisites and a number of jobs. And then for those jobs, we can have line items that represent prerequisites themselves, individual for that job, as well as the work that is needed to be done. And then those prerequisites can roll up into the project prerequisites for an overview, a summary of how work is going. On the job itself, this is what is going to be scheduled out. So this is kind of our segue into the next section of the demo. As you'll see, this has already been scheduled, but you can individually schedule this job from this screen just by going to, for example, book appointment right here. And that runs you through the process very simply of gathering the data that's necessary from this job and preparing you to set this in the schedule by providing you with slots in the schedule already. Now, this is a way of Salesforce supporting people like your scheduler or dispatcher to be able to find slots within the work. And you can see that the variety of slots that are made available here for this job. Comparing that to our overview, we're moving over now to what's called the dispatch console. And it's just going to take a second to load here because I've been doing some work in the background and we want to make sure that it's all up to date. But the dispatch console is able to present you the different territories that you're working in. So again, we're just focused on the San Francisco territory for this demonstration, but you can have multiple ones visible at any given moment on the console. And then all of the resources that you are either in charge of, that you own, or that you are partnered with that function within that territory. And so on the right-hand side, we have the Gantt view of your schedule across the first 3 days of next week, so the 21st through the 23rd. You can also change what kind of view you have. So whether you want to see it on a weekly basis, whether you want to see it on a 6-month basis, or whether you want to see it in day and it scrolls through the day as each minute ticks by. On the left-hand side, we have a list of our jobs that are filtered up top here. So all of the jobs that you're seeing in this list are unscheduled. I have a list of possible filters that I can select from. So if I want to see what's on the Gantt in a list form, I can click on that and see that. But for right now, I can focus on unscheduled and just stick with that and be able to see, okay, so this is what I need to get on my schedule as a dispatcher. Now, the job that we were looking at previously is this SA0314 and is on the schedule, as you can see in the actual description here. If I scroll down a little bit, it's a 36-hour job. So this is multi-day work that we're setting aside for people to be involved in. And so we're starting it on the afternoon of Monday. We can see it tracks through the day here. Now you can actually see that the breakdown of our resources in this territory is set based off of it's the sum total of all the different types of resources. So we've got Alan Reed, who's an individual resource. We've got people like Alex Ranieri and Louise Martin, who are working on the electrical crew. And we've got other resources that are all assigned to their individual crews. You can see that represented by the stripe across their section of the Gantt. We can also see we've got a compact excavator, so being able to schedule and assign out pieces of equipment as schedulable resources to a given crew or an individual job even. You can see here that partway through the week, we're actually moving this excavator from the plumbing crew to the electrical crew. And then we can see each of the individual crews themselves. Now, this might be a lot to look at. We can definitely filter this down as well to only show the schedulable items. So removing all members of the crews from the view and just looking at the crews themselves or individual resources. And then finally up top here is our partner, Acme. Now, this is a good way of representing, or one of the ways that you can represent contract partners that you might have, subcontractors that you might work with. And this method of presenting a schedulable resource is can be sometimes referred to as bucketing. So a contractor gives you on any given day of the week a number of hours that they are able to have available for your work to be completed. So you can see here that Acme has provided us with 15 hours on Monday, 20 hours on Tuesday, 20 hours on Wednesday, and so on and so forth. And we can see that we have actually booked a certain number of those hours, but it's kind of blocked out. Now, that's because the method of assigning out work to your contract partner in this way is that you give the work to a general bucket. It is not assigned at a specific time. It is not assigned to a specific resource. And the contractor handles what time that work is going to be accomplished and who will be accomplishing that work. This is a way of where your contractors are not actively accessing your org, but you are still able to represent what work is being handled by them so that you know the breakdown of your work. The other method is having contract resources that are fully available to be scheduled, similar to Alan Reed here, that you can assign specific pieces of work to those contractors. So this is all multiple methods of scheduling the work is available to you within Salesforce Field Service. There are a number of different ways that you can actually schedule the work itself. So there are methods of dragging and dropping, right? So if I'm looking at this list of unscheduled work, I can drag and drop manually a job onto the Gantt and see how that Gantt reacts. So it slots right in, and we can see actually that the black bars on either side are the automatically calculated estimated travel time for that job. So traveling from this job location to the next job location, and then the bar afterwards is assuming that that crew returns to its home base. So to wherever they pick up their equipment at the start of the day, so on and so forth. So that is all automatically calculated as you assign out work. You can rely on other pieces, certain pieces of Salesforce's automated scheduling as well. So for example, I have here set up this job to trigger a rule violation. So it does not have, it is requiring certain skills that the plumbing crew does not have assigned to them. So we need to find a way of reassigning that. So I can go here and right click on the job. And for example, if I want more control, I can click Get Candidates, and it will automatically filter the resources that are visible on the Gantt down to only the ones that have the skills necessary and the time available to be assigned this work. Now it's showing that I will be assigning this to the Acme contractors, and I can select any of these slots here as I need to. So that's another way of having Salesforce Field Service help you with your scheduling. Now I've referred to this rule violation. I just want to bring everyone's attention up to the top of the screen here. And we've got a few KPIs that help the dispatcher, the scheduler as well. We've got the sum total of work that has been assigned and scheduled out, the average travel time for the visible schedule, the number of jobs completed versus the total jobs visible on the schedule. And then we've got those rule violations, and we've got the in jeopardy. Rule violations being things like you don't have the appropriate skills, certifications, tools, equipment. Also could be things like scheduling two jobs at overlapping times for the same resource or crew, scheduling jobs in the wrong territory, things like that. Using any of the automated processes that Salesforce provides for scheduling will not allow you to break those rules, but in cases where I am dragging and dropping pieces onto the schedule manually, it provides a backstop for showing you what rules you are violating when you handle things in that manual method. Okay, perfect. We've gone over a lot of items here, but just wanted to show how the Gantt console, the dispatch console, can support your scheduling processes, both from a visualization standpoint, as well as being able to provide your dispatchers and schedulers with manual control over your schedule, as well as having the Salesforce Field Service solution support them by making the choices they're making easier to visualize and understand. On the topic of visualization, we're going to hit our last point here, the dashboard. So we've got a sample project dashboard here that's loading as I speak. And you're going to see a couple of squares or rectangles on the screen. These tiles represent a report within Salesforce Salesforce. Each report is effectively just a table of data that has been filtered out from Salesforce, from within your org. As long as the data exists in your Salesforce org, you are able to create a report on it and associate it with any other data within your org. On the dashboard, we can see that there are a number of ways of displaying this information. So simple graphic methods, like you can see on the right-hand side, we've got a gauge here for the portfolio completion. And then we've got things like donut charts as well, or simple table visualization as well. The method of displaying all of the information with respect to a graphical method allows for easy dig down into certain areas of data that you're interested in. So if I'm curious about the projects that are currently owned by, for example, Valerie East, I could click on this section of the table, and it'll automatically filter that table to only Valerie East's projects, so that I can review that project information and understand better about the projects that have been assigned to her. Because as I can see, she has one of the largest sections of projects. So just wanting to understand that. Another area of this dashboard that I do want to call out before I hand it back over is the invoice report. This is something where you can have it filtered to show that the status, it is at a certain point. So we've got some draft and pending statuses here. And so then as somebody that is reviewing invoices, such as pro forma invoices, I can click on that invoice number from within the dashboard from that report and immediately be brought to the invoice record to be able to understand more about it, to be able to support it, and to take whatever actions I need to. So again, having easy filterable data visualization that makes taking action on that data significantly easier. So just to review very quickly, we started with the hierarchy of information going from customer to project, prerequisites, jobs, and so on. We then went to the dispatching and scheduling console to see how Salesforce Field Service supports and provides the right information in the best ways possible for your schedulers and dispatchers to be able to do their jobs with the most ease possible. And then finally, we saw a dashboard with some reports and how presenting data in a dashboard format allows for accumulating a lot of information that is spread across your Salesforce org in a way that you can easily view it, understand it, and then take action from it. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll hand it back over to, I believe, Steve.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Gary. That was fantastic. The level of transparency specific to construction organizations, awesome. User engagement, as mentioned before, is essential. Gary, I wish I had Copilot 20 years ago. That's amazing. A lot of benefits here. Typically, we'll work with your organization to run through and define the benefits that you can achieve and that ROI, which is very, very quick. I think the lowest hanging fruit, as I mentioned before, is operational awareness that hits a number of these key things. Being able to know what's going on with your business, have access to things, and then being able to improve the business performance and thus the reputation, either as manually or as automated as you want, is critical. I think another thing that we've seen very often from a benefit perspective is awareness of profitability margins across key aspects of the business, right? The offerings themselves, the geographic areas, even down to the crew level, the project level, the customer level, being able to understand that. Again, this is fundamental to being able to improve your business along the way. But as mentioned before, feel free to reach out to us. We'll engage deeply on this, and we'll give you a clear view of the value and benefits that the solutions deliver for you. And over to Aldo.
Yeah, I know that Aldo had advised us last minute that he would not be able to be here today.
Okay.
We had Brian open up for him. Essentially, I think really at this point, what Aldo wanted everybody to know is that in the essence of time, we only had an hour. We did our best to showcase what we could in the demo, but we are very much aware that there are unique use cases not showcased in the demo and maybe not tackled here on the webinar. But like you mentioned, Stephen, as a team, we are here to, look at those unique use cases with you and try to answer those, those challenges that you may have that you haven't seen here today. Which leads us to our Q&A. We didn't have too many questions. I'm assuming probably because we answered maybe a lot of the questions as we went along. I'm not sure if you want to try and take this one, Stephen, or if it was, maybe Aldo or Brian were the right ones to answer. But how does this solution work with our existing project, project management system or solution, something like P6?
I can jump in on that, and Peter, Gary, feel free to jump in after me. So typically organizations, I've worked with a lot of organizations that run Primavera, Microsoft Project, et cetera, to establish the plan. This system executes the plan, right? And so certainly some facilities within Salesforce and some partners that provide competing tools for this. But my experience is if you're using Primavera, if you're using some other tool, it's very difficult and you don't want to displace or disrupt that at this stage. So Salesforce provides an integration layer that allows the delivery of those details, and even in some intelligence that allows you to get down to another level of detail. For instance, maybe in the project level, hey, we need to do this general type of activity. It can be delivered through the integration layer and automatically derive a lot of details on that. Hey, we know that thing means 15 other things with some interdependencies between them, some different skills, tools, parts, certifications, competencies that are required to support that. the Salesforce system can derive all those details, make it more precise, and then feed information back into a P6 or a Microsoft project or whatever other tool you're using for your project management facility. Hope that helps, Erica.
Yeah, I think so, unless somebody else on the panel had something to add. And then there's a Eureka specific question here. So where are the forms stored and accessed by the team when forms are created with the template Copilot? Is it like a different process than the usual form creation with Eureka?
So first and foremost, Eureka is a 100% native application inside of Salesforce. So the object model, the records, they're all stored inside of Salesforce. There isn't a separate server. There's no field mapping or anything like that back and forth. Copilot really accelerates that template authoring experience. And then when you complete a template, usually there's two different roles. There's a role of an individual that's authoring the template. We call that a template builder. That individual will polish up the template, make any changes, change the logic, add questions, etc., clone new versions, etc. And when they've polished it up and they think we're ready to push it out to end users, of course, you can test that in Sandbox or any environment that you like. But when you're ready to push it out to users, that's when our end users out in the field that might be on mobile can complete those forms. So it copies a form template into what we call a form, and that has all of the answer placeholders so you can answer the questions, and it stores a form that is related to the form template. And we can give you all the details in the object model if that's of interest afterward. But usually there's a form template builder first. That's the individual that's going to be using Copilot, authoring the template, polishing it up, and then we create forms for end users to complete out in the system. And all that information is stored inside of Salesforce. No field mapping, no separate servers or anything like that.
Great, Gary. There's actually another question for you. Are the forms we saw all customized, or is there an approach with drag and drop to build the forms? I think you said drag and drop, but I'll let you answer.
Yeah, Thierry, great question. Happy to show you more too if you'd love to see our template builder. But drag and drop user interface, you can clone questions. You can use building blocks of existing templates that you can use over and over and over again as you're authoring a new template. So if you have header information that you want to use consistently, it's a great way to build those templates quickly and easily. Logic that you can build into the template, all point and click, no code writing necessary, but it's all a very user-friendly experience to be able to drag and drop that template that you're authoring.
How simple is it to exchange data with other tools like Procore?
I'll jump in there. I'm not incredibly familiar with Procore, but I will say if you're integrating Salesforce with Procore today, the same type of solution would exist. So if you're using Eureka's forms and you want to integrate the answers with Procore, we would do the exact same thing. So it would pipe from Salesforce into Procore or vice versa to be able to consume that data inside of a form.
Great, thank you, Gary. So in the essence of time, obviously, if there's more questions, we're more than glad to take this off, which leads to my next slide, which is Diabsolute and Eureka are pairing together. As a thank you for attending today's session, we're offering a free 30-minute one-to-one consultation. So, if you have more questions, please reach out to us. What we will be doing is in the email on Monday that goes out with the link to the recording, we'll also share a link so that you can sign up for this. It's a one-to-one consultation where we'll help you review your current setup and discuss some solutions tailored to your challenges. Obviously, more details will be provided in the email. So look out for that sign-up link. But essentially, we're here to just, ask you some questions, maybe propose some forms that are unique to your use case. So with that, I want to thank our panelists today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Brian, for stepping in for Aldo at the last minute. If you'd like to contact any of us, whether it's at Diabsolute, Salesforce, or Eureka, we're here for you. And thank you, especially to all of our attendees for sitting through today's webinar.